Chapter 478. Lu Yi was only a second-order Cloud River Realm cultivator, so it was difficult for him to intervene in such a situation. Lu Ye's rushing figure suddenly stopped behind Zhou Hai. Bending his body slightly, he took a deep breath and the spirit energy around his body surged. His vitality and Hu Po's vitality fused together. Holding the mountain blade horizontally in front of his eyes, a light flashed across the blade. At the same time, a huge amount of vitality gathered on his right arm. His flesh and blood wriggled, and his entire right arm suddenly expanded. At this moment, Zhou Hai felt a prickling sensation on his back, as if a great crisis was about to strike him from behind. "Draw your sword," Lu Yi shouted. Zhou Hai didn't hesitate. The moment he drew his sword, he immediately squatted down and slid out from the side. As he pulled his sword out, the wound on Fierce Nyo's back quickly wriggled and a huge amount of vitality gathered, immediately showing signs of healing. At that moment, a dazzling blade light flashed and stabbed into the bloody wound. Lu Ye's arm blurred and in an instant, he stabbed 5 times in a row. For him, consecutive slashes were a kind of blade technique. If he could perform consecutive slashes, he could naturally perform consecutive thrusts. This was another way of using consecutive slashes. Each stab was aimed at the original wound. With each stab, a brilliant light flashed across the blade. This was the enhancement of the dual-edge spirit inscriptions, making the mountain blade extremely sharp. Each stab was deeper than the previous one. In the blink of an eye, 5 stabs had been made. Puchi *, the long blade pierced through Fierce Nyo's chest. The tip of the blade pierced through 3 inches. Zhou Hai's eyes lit up at the same time as Meng Nyo was entangled with Zhou Hai. Both of them were obviously very surprised that a second-order Cloud River Realm cultivator could perform such a powerful killing move. However, such a simple stab wound was obviously not enough to destroy the beast mark on Fierce Nyo's chest. When everyone had besieged him before, they had left some wounds on his chest, but those wounds had quickly healed. If Lu Yi pulled out his blade now, all his efforts would have been in vain. So, the moment the blade pierced through Fierce Nyo's chest, Lu Yi constructed a thorny spirit inscription on the mountain blade. When the spirit energy burst out, thorns of spirit energy that couldn't be seen with the naked eye burst out from Fierce Nyo's body. This killing move was enough to instantly extinguish any enemy's vitality, but Fierce Nyo's body only trembled. He showed no signs of dying. Lu Yi activated the explosive spirit runes again. A muffled sound came from Fierce Nyo's body as a bloody hole appeared in his chest. Minced meat flew everywhere. This Black Tortoise sect leader's defense was indeed terrifying. Ordinary methods could only inflict some flesh wounds and hardly injure his bones. However, Lu Yi used the mountain pan blade as his foundation. The spirit inscriptions constructed in his body had a terrifying lethality. Moo! Ever since it appeared, it had not made any sound. Fierce Bull, who only knew how to kill enemies mechanically, suddenly raised his head and let out a sound similar to a bull mooing. Pieces of flesh flew out from his chest. His enormous chi and blood suddenly became chaotic. That kind of chaos. There were obvious signs of separation. Before Lu Yi could see what was going on, Fierce Bull turned around and threw a punch at him. The defense spirit rune blocked in front of him. However, with this punch, the defense immediately shattered. Lu Yi immediately felt as if a mountain had crashed into him. His body flew out uncontrollably and slammed into the wall of the hive before slowly sliding down. Stars appeared in front of his eyes, and his internal organs were tumbling in his stomach. He almost couldn't breathe. By the time he came back to his senses, more than 10 breaths had passed. Looking up, with the help of the light from the explosion of spirit energy, through his groggy vision, he saw the scene before him. The Great Elder and Pang Dahai were working together to entangle Fierce Bull. Fierce Bull's chest was still stabbed with his mountain pan blade. On the other side, a monster beast that looked like a Kuei ox had appeared at some point. Zhou Hai slashed out with his flying sword, causing the Kuei ox to cry out continuously and flee in all directions. Success! Lu Yi leaned back against the meat wall. His heart relaxed. This Kuei ox-like monstrous beast must be Fierce Bull's life source monstrous beast. On top of Zhou Hai's method, he had used all his strength to finally break through Fierce Bull's beast seal. Once the beast seal was broken, the beast transformation state would be dispelled. This man and beast would no longer be able to become one. Fierce Bull, who had removed his beast state, was obviously much weaker than before. Now, other than his vitality being a little more vigorous, he was not much different from an ordinary 9th Order Cloud River Realm cultivator. Moreover, he was affected by the poison, so the strength he could display was greatly reduced. Not far away, someone stood up shakily. She pushed her spirit chi and the light of a technique began to flicker. It was Xia Qian. This woman was not dead. Not only was she not dead, but Shen Xiao Mao, Lan Zi, and the 7th Order Body Cultivator were also not dead. At this moment, they were all dragging their injured bodies and struggling to get up. Everyone knew that victory was right in front of them. It was time to give it their all. Lu Yi was still leaning against the meat wall. He had taken a direct hit from Fierce Bull. Although he had activated his spirit tattoo in time, the power of that punch had still seriously injured him. At this moment, even the slightest movement would cause a piercing pain in his chest and abdomen. It was likely that some of his bones had broken and pierced into his internal organs. The artifact box at his waist buzzed and 9 streams of light shot out, agilely attacking the Kuei-Ox. With everyone working together, the Kuei-Ox, who was equivalent to a 9th Order Cloud River Realm cultivator, could not escape death. In less than half an incense stick worth of time, the monster beast fell to the ground with wounds all over its body. It lay motionless on the ground, covered in blood. On the other side, Pang Dehai and the Great Elder teamed up to fight Fierce Bull. However, the two of them lacked the means to end a battle with a single blow, so no matter how many injuries they inflicted on Fierce Bull's vitality could quickly recover. It was only when Zhou Hai's flying sword reached Niumeng's neck like a bolt of lightning that Niumeng's tall figure suddenly stopped. In the next moment, blood soared into the sky and Fierce Bull's head flew high into the air. Fierce Bull's headless corpse fell to the ground. The anxious and intense battlefield quieted down. Only the sound of everyone gasping for breath could be heard. Pang Dehai cursed and sat on the ground. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never been in a battle as difficult as this one. This kind of battle was really too tiring. He did not want to experience it a second time in his life. Most importantly, as a body cultivator who charged at the front, taking a beating was very painful. He was most afraid of pain, so he had always been more willing to be a long-range spell cultivator. This time, if he had not been forced into a corner, he would not have revealed his abilities as a body cultivator. In the silence, a dot of golden light suddenly bloomed, attracting everyone's attention. Turning their heads, they saw that the golden light came from Fierce Bull's headless corpse. "Be careful!" Zhou Hai shouted and a flying sword slashed at the golden light. However, the golden light was extremely fast. As soon as it appeared, it turned into a golden line and rushed toward Lu Yi, who was the furthest away from the battlefield. Lu Yi had been resting on the wall of flesh. He did not expect to encounter such an unexpected disaster even after the battle was over. Seeing the golden light rushing toward him, the weapon box at his waist trembled and 9 streams of light intercepted it. The golden light moved left and right, nimbly avoiding all the attacks of the Imperial equipment. When it arrived in front of Lu Yi, it trembled slightly and suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, Lu Yi felt a slight prickling pain on the back of his neck. He slapped down with his hand, but only hit a bump on his neck. Moreover, the bulge was also rapidly disappearing. Lu Yi clearly sensed that something had drilled into his body and was lying on the back of his neck. It was an insect. Moreover, it was the kind of insect that could control cultivators. Generally speaking, the insect that controlled monsters or cultivators would also die when the target died. This was also the reason why the cultivators of the realm of beasts were unable to find the root cause of the monster's illness. Because the cultivators of the realm of beasts were unable to find any insects, even the cultivators of the 9 provinces who killed and examined many monsters were unable to find any. In the end, the insect was only exposed when Hupo was infected. Fierce Bull was controlled by a parasite, so there was obviously an insect in his body. However, this insect seemed to be somewhat different from other insects. Not only was it a brilliant golden color, but after the death of its host, it would choose another host. After such a difficult battle, they finally killed a powerful enemy like Fierce Bull. Everyone's mind relaxed, but they did not expect that there would still be an insect that was not dead. In front of the wall of flesh, Lu Yi suddenly sat up straight as if he had been struck by lightning. He suddenly had an inexplicable feeling. He sensed a large amount of energy above everyone's heads. He also sensed tens of millions of lives from a certain direction. That direction was the direction of Two Realm City. Many inexplicable messages appeared in his mind. However, before he could sense more, he felt a stabbing pain from the back of his neck. Accompanied by the sound of an insect, the insect that had burrowed into his body had escaped again. The golden light appeared again, but this time, before it could escape, Lu Yi reached out and grabbed it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, one figure after another appeared in front of him. Lu Yi raised his head and looked at the bewildered and disheveled faces in front of him. The corner of his eye twitched. "Don't panic." Pang Daohai asked curiously, "Why did it come out again?" Everyone had the same question. When they saw that Lu Yi had been infected, they hurried over. However, they did not expect the insect to come out on its own. Everyone was confused. At this moment, the insect was struggling in Lu Ye's hand. However, how could a small insect like it escape from Lu Ye's grasp? "Maybe I'm not compatible with it?" Lu Yi blurted out. The others did not know why the insect came out, but he knew very well. The moment the insect entered his body, he felt a reaction from his talent tree. The talent tree could even burn away the pill toxins in his body, let alone an insect that had invaded his body. If it had not run away fast enough, it would have been burned to ashes by the talent tree. It could only be said that it had chosen the wrong target. Of all the people present, Lu Yi was the furthest away from it, but it had chosen him. Of course, even if it had chosen someone else, it would not have ended well. Chapter 479. These strange insects were no threat to cultivators at all after losing their host. Lu Yi lowered his head and looked at the insect in his hand. It was about the same size as the insect he found before. It looked like a cicada, but its body was golden as if it was made of gold. "Insect King," he whispered softly. "What?" Zhou Hai frowned. "This is the Insect King." The group of people was puzzled, especially the few Ninth Order Cloud River Realm cultivators. They had never heard of an Insect King before. They had been in the Cloud River battlefield for so long and experienced many sealed worlds. They had also seen many insect races, but those insect races were a group of monsters that only knew how to destroy and kill. There had never been an Insect King. "How do you know it's the Insect King?" Xia Qianqian asked, puzzled. "When I was parasitized just now, I felt something." Lu Yi carefully recalled the feeling just now and said thoughtfully, "Kill it, and the crisis of the realm of beasts will be resolved." Hearing him say this, everyone was suddenly interested. Zhou Hai asked, "How do you know?" Lu Yi sorted out the various information he received when he was parasitized and explained, "The other insect races are controlled by this Insect King. When it's dead, the other insect races are just decorations. Even if they are still parasitized in the bodies of monster beasts, they won't have any effect on the monster beasts." When he was parasitized, he felt many auras above, which were obviously the auras of the insects parasitizing the monster beasts. There was also the direction of Two World City. There were tens of millions of life marks, which were obviously the marks of the insect race. When Hupo was parasitized in Two World City, he sensed the location of Black Tortoise Sect, which was the connection between him and the Insect King. In other words, after killing this Insect King, we don't have to deal with those monster beasts? Xin Xiaomao asked. She was full of worry before. Because even if they killed Niu Meng here, they would still have to face the monster beasts. After going out, they still had to face the overwhelming number of monster beasts. In their current state, they didn't have much strength to fight, but if things were really as Lu Yi said, then they only needed to kill one Insect King. The madness of the monster beasts outside could be eradicated. Whether it's true or not, we'll know when we get back. Lu Yi said as he squeezed the golden Insect King. The golden liquid that burst out was swept away by his scorching spirit energy. It was instantly annihilated. At the same time, on the surface of the Black Tortoise sect, the demonic beasts that were roaring madly and wanting to attack the ground suddenly calmed down. The scarlet color in his eyes quickly receded. It was not only the Black Tortoise sect that was like this. It was the same for Two World City, which was on the verge of being breached. The cultivators with faces full of despair were shocked to find that the monstrous beasts, who seemed to have some irreconcilable enmity with them a moment ago, actually retreated like the tide. On the broken city walls, the surviving cultivators slowly gathered. Looking at the huge group of beasts that was gradually disappearing into the distance, they enjoyed the joy of surviving a calamity. No one knew why the demonic beasts suddenly retreated. Only the cultivators of the 9 regions had a vague guess. Someone had solved the problem of the realm of beasts. At this time, beneath the Black Tortoise sect, everyone had already retreated from the sealed insect nest. After Niu Meng died, the hive withered, and a gap opened up in the sealed hive. There was still poisonous fog left in the nest. No one wanted to stay in there any longer. However, he was unable to determine the situation of the demonic beasts on the ground. Therefore, no one dared to casually go up. They could only find a place to recuperate in the underground passage. The poison had a great impact on the cultivators. Even though they had taken many antidote pills before, everyone was still sore and weak. Their limbs were weak, and their spiritual power could not be used. In such a situation, they had to return to the Cloud River battlefield. They had to find a medical cultivator to treat them. They had to rely on themselves. It was difficult to clean up the poison that had invaded their bodies. In the dim passage, Lu Yi swallowed a healing pill and slowly recuperated. Yi had already been sent out to spy on the situation on the ground. If the situation was different from what he thought, then everyone would have to fight their way out. This was undoubtedly something that no one wanted to face. Looking at everyone's current state, all of them were seriously injured. In addition, they were poisoned. They could not even use half of their usual strength. In the silence, Pang Dehai suddenly chuckled. "Everyone, look at your battle merits." He had obviously discovered something and was in a rather good mood. Hearing what he said, everyone hurriedly took out their identity nameplates to check. Lu Yi also checked and was surprised to find that he had nearly 30,000 battle merits. Battle merits were distributed by Heaven's Secret, so there would not be any embezzlement or falsification. Lu Yi had relied on a large number of spirit arrays to kill many monster beasts and obtained a little more than 3,000 battle merits. When he was defending Two World City, his battle merits increased to more than 5,000. Not only did he obtain battle merits from killing enemies, but he also obtained battle merits from maintaining the Thunder Roar Array. And now, he had nearly 30,000 battle merits. In other words, the trip to Black Turtle Sect had allowed him to obtain nearly 25,000 battle merits. Most of them must have come from killing Fierce Niu with everyone, and some should have come from killing the Insect King. Perhaps it was also because he had discovered the secret of the insect race here. No matter what, for a second-order Cloud River Realm cultivator like Lu Yi, nearly 30,000 battle merits was a huge harvest. At Two World City's military supply office, the Golden Spirit lot was only worth 16,200 battle merits. Lu Ye's battle merits were almost enough to exchange for 2 Golden Spirit lots. He did not know how many battle merits the others had, but it should not be any worse than his. The few 9th Order Cloud River Realm cultivators had all contributed greatly in the previous battle, especially Zhou Hai and Pang Dehai. Fierce Niu had died under Zhou Hai's flying sword, and Pang Dehai had contributed greatly when fighting Fierce Niu. In this case, Fierce Niu was worth about 100 to 200,000 battle merits. After killing him, Heaven's Secret distributed the battle merits according to everyone's contribution. How bitter they had been when fighting Fierce Niu was now how happy they were now. In the darkness, everyone was beaming with joy. However, when they set off, there were more than a dozen of them. Now, only 7 or 8 people were still alive. The battle with Fierce Niu was extremely dangerous. Half of the weapon cultivators died, and 1 body cultivator died. Even the female ghost cultivator did not escape. Huge gains also meant tragic losses. In the life of a cultivator, they would always encounter difficult crises. Are we missing one person? Pang Dehai suddenly asked. Lu Yi looked around and counted the number of people. He found that one person was indeed missing. Taking a closer look, he found that the missing person was Lan Zi. This surprised him. He did not seem to have left any traces, but this woman was very alert. He did not know when she left the group and hid. After entering the realm of beasts' sealed world and cooperating with Lan Zi under Heaven's secret world's arrangement, it was not a big deal. After all, it was Heaven's secret world's arrangement. Moreover, Lan Zi's identity here was his maid, so Lu Yi had the advantage. However, whether it was Lu Yi or Lan Zi, they both knew each other's background. They belonged to two different camps. They had fought in the Spirit Stream battlefield and had experienced each other's strength. If the opportunity was right, Lu Yi would not mind killing Lan Zi. He believed that Lan Zi had the same idea. He had not revealed his intentions before because he did not have the right opportunity. He did not know which camp the rest of the team belonged to except for Pang Dehai. If he really did do it in front of others, he might not succeed. This was a good opportunity. Lan Zi was heavily poisoned, and her strength was greatly reduced. Although Lu Yi was also heavily injured, he was in a much better state than Lan Zi. As long as he found an opening, he was confident that he could kill this woman in one strike. At that time, even if someone wanted to interfere, Pang Dehai could help him block it for a moment. However, unexpectedly, Lan Zi did not give him the chance. He felt a little regretful, but he also admired this woman's decisiveness. She clearly knew that with her current state, it was not suitable for her to appear in front of Lu Yi. Lan Zi's disappearance did not cause too much of a stir. Pang Dehai only asked and did not say anything else. They were all old foxes in the Cloud River battlefield. Lan Zi hiding at this time clearly meant that she was afraid of something. There was no need to say anything. A message came from the battlefield imprint. Lu Yi checked it and found that it was from Yi. It was confirmed that the demonic beasts on the ground of the Black Tortoise sect had all dispersed. Yi purposely found a lone demonic beast nearby to observe. She found that the demonic beast had returned to normal. How can we leave this kind of secret realm? Lu Yi asked. Pang Dehai said, under normal circumstances, if all the problems are solved, there should be a Heaven's secret pillar at a certain location. In this secret realm, the Heaven's secret pillar should appear in the Two-World City. As for where exactly it is, we still need to find it. Lu Yi raised his eyebrows. When we left the Two-World City, we did not get permission from the City Lord. The City Lord said that if we dare to leave our post without permission, we will be traitors to the human race. We can forget about stepping into the Two-World City for the rest of our lives. Pang Dehai laughed. So if we want to return to the Two-World City, I'm afraid it will be a little troublesome. He probably experienced this before, so he did not panic at all. But we can't not go back. The military supplies department is still in the Two-World City. Lu Yi had a headache. That's okay. Your battle merits can be exchanged for any resources you want at the military supplies department in the Two-World City. You can also bring them back to the Cloud River battlefield. HM? What do you mean? Let's put it this way. Battle merits can only be obtained in some secret realms. It is of a higher level than merit points. Even if you don't use it in the secret realm, you can bring it back to any Heaven's secret pillar and connect it to the Heaven's secret treasure vault. You can also use your battle merits to exchange for it. Let me remind you, things that can be exchanged for with battle merits may not be exchanged with merit points. For example, the various spiritual tokens. However, things that can be exchanged with merit points can definitely be exchanged with battle merits. This is because whether it is battle merits or merit points, all resources come from the Heaven's secret treasure vault. Lu Yi understood. This was very convenient. It also made him feel more and more curious about the mysteries of heaven. Chapter 480. In the dim underground passage, everyone healed their wounds. Xia Qian, a second-rate medical cultivator, played a big role. In this kind of environment, having a medical cultivator was a blessing. Who cared if she was a first-rate or second-rate cultivator? After a full 3 days, the group of people had more or less recovered. It was time to leave. As usual, Lu Yi took the lead, Following the passage, they came from all the way back to the location of the collapsed well. After some work, they removed the collapsed stones and cleared a path. A moment later, Lu Yi was the first to fly up. The dazzling sunlight spread across his field of vision, giving him the illusion that he was still alive. The others flew out one after another, all looking happy. They weren't too vigilant because they had heard some news through their own channels when they were healing. They knew that the problem in the realm of beasts had been solved. Now that the monster beasts in the realm of beasts were no longer crazy, there was no need to be vigilant. Young Master, Great Elder. A familiar voice reached his ears. Lu Yi turned his head and saw the old woman and the others from the Thousand Beast sect. 3 days ago, when they decided to go deep into the insect nest, the old woman led these Thousand Beast sect cultivators to lure away the monster beasts on the surface. After that, they disappeared without a trace. It seemed that they had been waiting outside until now. To be honest, Lu Yi still didn't know what the old woman's identity was in the Thousand Beast sect, but judging from her Cloud River Realm 9th Order cultivation, her status shouldn't be low. When they got close, they gathered. The Great Elder said, "Young Master, now that the monster beast problem has been solved, please return to the sect and rebuild the Thousand Beast sect." The old woman and the others also said, "Young Master, please return to the sect and rebuild the Thousand Beast sect." If they hadn't mentioned it, Lu Yi would have almost forgotten that he was the young master of the Thousand Beast sect. But how could he, a cultivator of the 9 states, go to the Thousand Beast sect and do such a thing? He turned his head to look at Pang Dehai, but the fatty looked away with a helpless expression. He had never encountered such a situation before, mainly because even though he had entered and exited various mystic realms and been given various identities by Heaven's Secret, his status was not high. He had never been given the identity of a young sect master, and now Lu Yi, the young sect master, was involved in reviving the sect. Several pairs of eyes stared at him. Lu Yi could only say, "Everyone, please return to the sect first. My friends and I have some matters to attend to. We will return once we are done." The Great Elder immediately volunteered, "This old man will accompany young master." Lu Yi quickly raised his hand, "No need, Great Elder should also return first." The Great Elder still wanted to say something, but the old woman gave him a look. Only then did the Great Elder say, "If that's the case, then be careful, young master." After saying that, he looked at Xia Qianqian and Shen Kitten and said with a sullen face, "You too must protect the young master well. If the young master loses a single hair, I will hold you responsible." The 2 women answered reluctantly, "Yes." The Great Elder cautioned Lu Yi for a while more before he soared into the sky with the old woman and the others, and soon disappeared without a trace. Looking in the direction they had left, Lu Yi was a bit confused. If I don't return to the 10,000 Beasts sect, will they continue to wait? Pang Dehai chuckled. Heaven has its own plans. Lu Yi suddenly felt a sharp pain in his scalp. He turned around and saw Xia Qianqian holding a strand of hair in her hand. It was obvious that she had pulled it out from his head. "What are you doing?" Xia Qianqian snorted. "Young master, you're missing a strand of hair. Quickly grow it back, or I don't know how the Great Elder will punish us when we return." She was obviously angry with the Great Elder's scolding just now, and now she was venting her anger on Lu Ye's hair. Lu Yi was too lazy to care about her childish behavior. "Let's go," Zhou Hai said, took out his flying sword, jumped up, turned into a sword light, and flew in the direction of Two World City. Everyone followed closely behind. Everything was calm and peaceful along the way, and the scenery under their feet was ruined. For the realm of beasts, which had suffered a great disaster, this was undoubtedly the beginning of a new life. Lu Yi didn't know if this world had been destroyed, and he didn't know if what Xia Qianqian said before was true, that what everyone had experienced was what this world had experienced before. The only thing he was sure of was that what he saw at this moment was extremely real. The beast tide had retreated, and the monsters had returned to normal. Two World City was safe, and the human race in the realm of beasts had not been wiped out. He didn't even know where the Thousand Beasts sect was, and there were even people waiting for him to return to rebuild the sect. If someone doesn't want to leave, can't they stay here forever? Halfway through, Lu Yi suddenly said. After all, if they wanted to leave this secret realm, they had to take the initiative to use the divine pillar to teleport. If they didn't go looking for the divine pillar, they could undoubtedly stay here. You can, but have you seen anyone stay in the spirit stream battlefield forever? Xia Qianqian, who was beside him, asked in return. On the path of cultivation, everyone was constantly moving forward, striving to reach the top. The many sceneries and experiences along the way were all embellishments on the path of growth. Who would linger in such a secret realm? Take Lu Yi for example. Although he could go to the Thousand Beasts sect and lead the Great Elder and the others to rebuild the sect, what then? There was a high chance that he would be hunted down by Two World City. The world had changed greatly, and the beast taming school was basically wiped out. After Two World City became the last stronghold of the human race, it resisted the attacks of the monsters. Now that Two World City was the mainstay of the realm of beasts, how could the city lord of Two World City allow the beast taming school to grow and surpass him? Although it was only a single encounter, Lu Yi could tell that the old man by the name of Lu Wuzhai was not someone who could tolerate others. The biggest winner of this time's beast tide was undoubtedly Lu Wuzhai. From the moment the monsters retreated, he had become the master of this world. Therefore, it was undoubtedly very difficult for the Thousand Beasts sect to rise again. 10 miles away from Two World City, the group landed and did not continue forward. At the moment, they were not sure how Two World City would treat them. No matter what, this group of people had left their posts when they were defending the city. From the perspective of others, they were considered deserters. Therefore, even if they risked their lives in the insect nest and solved the problem of the realm of beasts from the root, who would believe them? If they rushed in and were attacked by the cultivators of Two World City, they would not have a good ending. The group stared at Lu Yi, clearly wanting him to go to Two World City to investigate the situation. There were originally 2 ghost cultivators in the group, but one got separated on the way, and the other died in the insect nest. Only Lu Yi could use ghost cultivators' methods, so he was the best choice to spy on the situation. I'll go take a look. Lu Yi was duty-bound. A moment later, in front of one of the city gates of Two World City, Lu Yi concealed himself and calmly stared at the dozen or so lifelike portraits on the notice board. As expected, they were wanted by Two World City. In particular, Lu Yi, the First Elder, and the old woman's portraits were hung in the most conspicuous places. Lu Yi guessed that if the Thousand Beasts sect hadn't been among the group that left, Two World City might not have put them on the wanted list. However, it was because of the Thousand Beasts sect that Lu Wuzhai had the opportunity to make a fuss. That old man didn't want the Thousand Beasts sect to come back. He wanted them to die outside. With such a wanted list, it was unrealistic to fly in directly. They would definitely be attacked by the cultivators of Two World City. They could only go through the city gates. Hopefully, they all had concealment talismans on them. It had only been 3 days since the beast tide retreated, and Two World City was in ruins. Many of the formations hadn't been repaired yet, so there was still hope for them to sneak in with the help of concealment talismans. If they waited until Two World City's formations were fully repaired, it would be difficult to sneak in. Lu Yi sent a message to Xia Qianqian to inform her of this. Xia Qianqian quickly replied, telling him to think of a way to find the Tianji Pillar's location. Even if she didn't say anything, Lu Yi was prepared to sneak into the city to look for it. As long as he found the Tianji Pillar, he could return to the Cloud River battlefield at any time. Xia Qianqian didn't mention the concealment talismans. It seemed that almost every cultivator carried a few of these talismans with them. After all, it was better to be prepared. No one knew when they would need to use them. After successfully sneaking in through the city gates, Lu Yi carefully walked through the city, occasionally avoiding the oncoming passers-by. The city was so big. Where to find the Tianji Pillar was a problem. Just as he was at his wit's end, he suddenly heard someone nearby say, "Fellow Taoist son, are you going back?" Another person said, "I'm going back. After surviving this disaster, I still have some battle credits to exchange for some spirit sticks. My cultivation should be able to reach a higher level. Then I must congratulate fellow Taoist Sunday. Fellow Taoist you're not going back." The cultivator surnamed you said, "I'm going to stay here for a while." The cultivator surnamed Sun didn't understand. Now that the crisis in the realm of beasts has been resolved, you won't be able to obtain any battle credits by killing demonic beasts. What benefits can you obtain by staying here? The cultivator surnamed Yu chuckled. To tell you the truth, I cultivate the beast taming school. The cultivator surnamed Sun nodded. So that's how it is. Fellow Taoist wants to find the beast taming secret technique. It'll be difficult. Now that many of the beast taming school's sects in the realm of beasts have been destroyed, it won't be easy to find them. Where there's a will, there's a way. I wish you all the best. The two of them chatted for a while longer before bidding each other farewell. Lu Yi stood in place and thought for a moment. When the cultivator surnamed Yu passed by him, he suddenly spoke. Fellow Taoist, you can go to the ruins of the Myriad Beast sect. Perhaps you can succeed. Who is it? The cultivator surnamed Yu looked in the direction of the voice in shock, but he didn't see anything. After Lu Yi finished speaking, he hurriedly caught up with the cultivator surnamed Sunday. The Grand Elder and the old woman were destined to not be able to wait for him to lead them to rebuild their sect. However, the beast taming school shouldn't be destroyed in this world. As long as the Grand Elder and the others were still alive, the beast taming school would continue to be passed down. If the cultivators from the 9 provinces could learn the essence of beast taming school from them and carry it forward, it would be a good thing. He followed closely behind the cultivator surnamed Sun and walked all the way to the military supply area. After entering the main hall, a Tianji pillar entered his sight. Chapter 481. Lu Yi had been here before. At that time, the Pillar of Heaven's secrets didn't exist. It could be seen that the Pillar of Heaven's secrets only appeared after the problem with the realm of beasts was solved. From time to time, cultivators of the 9 provinces would leave through the Pillar of Heaven's secrets. For 99% of the cultivators of the 9 provinces, staying in this secret realm wouldn't benefit them much. They might as well return to the Cloud River battlefield and try their luck. The Cloud River realm was a stage in which cultivators could rapidly increase their cultivation. Any delay would slow down their growth. Only cultivators like the cultivator surnamed Yu, who cultivated the beast taming school, might be able to reap some benefits if they stayed here. He sent a message to Xia Qianqian, telling her the location of the Pillar of Heaven's secrets. Xia Qianqian quickly replied, saying that a group of people were on their way. Lu Yi hid in a corner and waited. Suddenly, he felt a pair of eyes looking at him. Lu Yi turned his head and saw an old man with a goatee looking at him with a smile from behind a table. Their eyes met, and the old man nodded slightly at him. Was he discovered? Lu Yi frowned. His concealment technique was different from that of ghost cultivators. He mainly relied on concealment spirit patterns. Ghost cultivators could conceal themselves because they could use secret techniques unique to ghost cultivators. In comparison, Lu Ye's concealment technique was slightly inferior to ghost cultivators. After all, he wasn't a professional. However, the difference wasn't too great. He shouldn't have been discovered so easily. Fellow Taoist Yi, you can remove your concealment technique. Only cultivators of the 9 provinces can enter this place. With the Pillar of Heaven's secrets, cultivators of the realm of beasts won't be able to discover you and will never be able to enter this place, the old man with the goatee suddenly said. This was the first time Lu Yi had heard of such a thing. Moreover, he didn't expect the old man to be from the 9 provinces. He'd seen this old man when he came to the main hall of the military supplies with Xia Qianqian and the others. At that time, he'd thought he was from the realm of beasts. Moreover, this old man had recognized his surname. He obviously knew him. After thinking for a moment, Lu Yi removed his concealment spirit patterns and revealed himself. He placed his hand on the hilt of his saber and slowly approached the old man. You know me? The old man with the goatee stroked his beard and smiled. Fellow Taoist Ye's portrait is plastered all over the city. It's hard for me not to recognize you. You can even see through my whereabouts. This was what Lu Yi was most concerned about. If his concealment level was so bad, then he would have to be careful in the future. He had always felt that his ability in this area was not bad. The old man smiled. Not only can I see your whereabouts, I can also see other things. Something else? The old man looked at the top of Lu Ye's head for a while with a solemn expression. Over the years, this old man has seen countless people, but I've only seen one person who has fellow Taoist Ye's luck that soars to the sky and continues to prosper. Lu Yi narrowed his eyes slightly. Old Mr. knows Qi divination? The aura-gazing technique was an extremely rare secret technique in the 9 provinces. It only existed in legends. Lu Yi had never expected to see one in the main hall of the military supply department in the realm of beasts. He didn't think the old man with the goatee was talking nonsense. Ever since he entered the Cloud River battlefield, his luck had been very good. This old man clearly saw something. However, although fellow Taoist's luck is prosperous, there is a strand of purple qi entangling your luck. Fellow Taoist needs to be careful. In addition, fellow Taoist's recent affairs have been too smooth. If there are twists and turns, you might lose something. Lose what? That depends on what fellow Taoist can lose. Lu Yi looked at him expressionlessly. The old man's words were mysterious, some true and some false. Lu Yi didn't know whether to believe him or not. Just now, you said that you've met a person with a kismet like me. Who is that person? The old man said meaningfully, that person's surname is Phone. He comes from the Jade Blood sect in the War Province. Does fellow Taoist know him? Lu Yi seriously suspected that this old man had seen through his true identity. Otherwise, there was no reason for him to suddenly mention his eldest senior brother. What made Lu Yi even more concerned was that this old man had actually seen his eldest senior brother. We're just chatting casually. Fellow Taoist, Yi doesn't need to be so nervous. The old man stroked his beard and smiled. After all, it's quite boring to stay here all the time. Fellow Taoist, please don't worry. As a member of the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance, this old man won't participate in the game between the 2 factions. Lu Yi finally realized something. You're from the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance? Yes. It was understandable that a cultivator from the 9 provinces would be overseeing the military supply department. So he was from the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance. In the 9 provinces, the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance was an extremely special existence. They did all kinds of business with cultivators from both factions. Now that they were in this secret realm, it was indeed only suitable for someone from the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance to oversee this place. Otherwise, no matter which faction the cultivator was from, it would be unfair to the cultivators of the other faction. After learning that the other party was from the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance, the hostility in Lu Ye's heart lessened. After thinking for a moment, he asked, Old sir, what's the Heavenly Secret Barrier that you mentioned before? The old man with the goatee explained, many secret realms have such military supply departments where cultivators of the 9 provinces can exchange their battle merits for resources. This kind of place is naturally not suitable for people from the secret realm to discover, so the Heavenly Secret Barrier will block this place. Even if they walk past the door, they won't notice this place. In their minds, this is an empty area. The reason I can see through fellow Taoist's figure isn't because of my own methods. It's because the Heavenly Secret Barrier has bestowed upon me some authority in this hall. That's why I have some methods that I don't normally possess. Even the aura-gazing technique? That's really my own ability. Lu Yi nodded. After a moment of silence, he said, Someone told me that everything in this secret realm has happened in this world before. Is that true? So what if it is? If it isn't, then what? I just want to know. I have no other intentions. The old man with the goatee looked outside the hall. After a while, he said, Then fellow Taoist, do you know how many times this secret realm has been opened? What do you mean? Before this, the realm of beasts had been opened 7 times in the Cloudy River battlefield. However, none of the cultivators of the 9 states had managed to solve the problem at its source. All 7 times, the demonic beasts had broken through Two World City and the human race had been wiped out. Two World City has been destroyed a few times, and I've seen it here a few times. This is the 8th time. I have to thank fellow Taoist Yi and your companions for saving the realm of beasts and Two World City. I don't have to see those hellish scenes anymore. Seeing Lu Ye's shocked expression, the old man smiled and said, That's right. It's just as fellow Taoist thinks. Every time the realm of beasts is destroyed, the next time it opens, it will return to the point where fellow Taoist entered. The heavenly secret barrier is working? The heavenly secret barrier is omnipotent. But we've killed many demon beasts before and even took their cores. If everything is fake, how can we explain it? Those cores were still in his storage space. No matter how omnipotent the heavenly secret barrier was, it couldn't resurrect all the dead people and demon beasts. What fellow Taoists saw might not be real. Of course, fellow Taoists' harvest is real. Why would the heavenly secret barrier do this? Is it just to provide a place for cultivators of the 9 states to train? The heavenly secret barrier is unfathomable. I don't dare to question it. Lu Yi was silent. This time, we've solved the problem at its source. Will the realm of beasts open again next time? It shouldn't. The problem of the realm of beasts has been solved. Everything in the realm of beasts will probably develop according to its current trajectory. In the future, this place will definitely attract a large number of beast tamers. The essence of beast tamers in the realm of beasts was not found in the 9 states. Once the news spread, many beast tamers would think of ways to enter this place. Like the cultivator surnamed Yu, many beast tamers would try to cultivate their own beast tamers. Of course, there's another possibility. The realm of beasts will disappear forever and never appear again. The old man added. He suddenly looked outside the hall and said, "Fellow Taoist friends are here." Lu Yi turned his head and saw nothing, but soon, several hidden figures appeared. Obviously, other than Lu Yi, the others knew that this was a safe place. Zhou Hai walked straight to the old man, took out his identity token and threw it on the table, exchange for spirit lots. The old man nodded with a smile and did as he was told. Soon, the others also exchanged their battle merits for spirit lots. Lu Yi also exchanged for spirit lots. Although Pang Dehai had told him that he could keep his battle merits and use them in the future, for Lu Yi, improving his cultivation as soon as possible was the most important thing. Naturally, he had to exchange for spirit lots. His second-order Cloud River realm cultivation was still at the bottom of the entire Cloud River battlefield. He had nearly 30,000 battle merits. In the end, he exchanged for 1 golden spirit lot, 2 purple spirit lots, 1 blue, 1 green, and 2 white spirit lots. In the end, he only had 56 battle merits left. Although he could exchange them for some spirit pills or spirit stones, Lu Yi didn't do so. Battle merits were hard to come by and could only be obtained in certain realms. How could the value of spirit pills and spirit stones compare? For cultivators, the greatest value of battle merits was to exchange them for spirit lots. If you wanted to exchange for spirit lots, you had to participate in an auction. Whether you could get one depended on luck, but as long as you had enough battle merits, you could exchange them for spirit lots at any time. Everyone gained a lot. It was time to leave. Zhou Hai was the first to walk to the Heaven's Fate Pillar. He raised his hand and pressed it, his figure quickly disappearing, followed by Pang Dehai and Xia Qianqian. After them was the 7th Order Body Cultivator, with Lu Yi and Shen Xiaomao lagging behind. It wasn't that the two of them were being modest, but rather that once they left the sealed world, they would randomly appear within 100 kilometers of its entrance, so letting those with higher cultivations leave first was undoubtedly the better choice. Raising his hand and pressing it on the Heaven's Fate Pillar, his vision changed. When he came back to his senses, he had appeared in a wilderness. Chapter 482. Lu Yi immediately scanned his surroundings to make sure there was no danger. A message came from the battlefield imprint. He looked down and saw that it was Xia Qianqian, asking him to meet at the Tianji Business Alliance nearby. Back in the Myriad Beast realm, Lu Yi had made an agreement with Xia Qianqian and the others that they would sell the Beast Seal technique to the Tianji treasury once they left the secret realm. To them, selling a secret technique that could change the structure of a school was only secondary to the merit points they could earn. The greatest benefit was the attention they could receive from the Tianji treasury. Lu Yi took out a map to check his location. He took out his flying spiritual tool and flew into the sky. 2 hours later, Lu Yi landed in front of the Tianji Business Alliance. There were 3 figures standing at the entrance. Seeing Lu Ye's arrival, Shen Kitty waved at him. Xia Qianqian was there too. Lu Yi squinted at the last figure and was surprised. He didn't expect Lan Zi to be there too. Lu Yi had no idea how the woman had left the hive and returned to Two World City, but the fact that she was standing here meant that she had left the realm of beasts earlier than everyone else and had purposely waited for them here. Their eyes met. Lu Yi was expressionless while Lan Zi looked indifferent. "I thought you wouldn't come." Xia Qianqian chuckled and patted Lu Yi's shoulder, saying in an old and experienced tone, "Not bad, kid. In the future, on the Cloud River battlefield, you'll be able to take on the Cloud River battlefield. Let me know if you need anything." Lu Yi turned to look at her. "You should be reaching True Lake soon, right?" Once she reached True Lake, Xia Qianqian would definitely leave the Cloud River battlefield. How would Lu Yi find her then? Xia Qianqian laughed. "It's still early." She changed the topic. "Now that everyone is here, let's follow our previous agreement and sell the secret technique to the Tianji treasure vault. But before that, let's do it. However, we need to draw up a Tianji contract. It shows that the technique is being sold by the four of us. Of course, you'll get the majority of the contribution points, 70%. How about that? We'll each get 10%. Shen Kitty and Lan Zi naturally had no objections. Lu Yi nodded. He wouldn't go back on his word. Although the secret technique was given to him by the first elder, he was still in the secret realm of the realm of beasts. After all, the four of them had worked together before. The three women had always been by his side, acting as maids. When Lu Yi ate meat, the three women should also drink a mouthful of soup. "I'll ask for the heavenly mystery contract," Xia Qianqian volunteered, looking sincere. He muttered to himself for a while. Soon, a golden light descended from the sky. She reached out and grabbed at it. He fished out a heavenly secret contract from the golden light. He handed it over to everyone for inspection. After confirming that there was no mistake, the group pressed their handprints on the paper one by one. "All right, let's sell it now." Lu Yi strode into the Tianji Business Alliance. He arrived in front of the Merchant Alliance's Tianji Pillar. Every Tianji Business Alliance had its own Tianji Pillar. Cultivators didn't have to pay any price to borrow the Tianji Pillars here. However, there were many people coming and going from the Merchant Alliance. There were many people who wanted to borrow the Tianji Pillar. Therefore, they needed to line up. After waiting for a while, when it was Lu Ye's turn, he raised his hand and placed it on the Tianji Pillar. His mind connected to the Tianji treasury. His vision blurred and he appeared in the Tianji treasure vault. There was a dazzling array of goods all around. He took out the jade slip that the first elder had given him. He tried to sell it. He checked the price. Unsurprisingly, it was very high. If he sold it directly to the Tianji treasury, he would get 50,000 merit points. Lu Yi would get 70% of it, so he would get 35,000 merit points in one go. After all, this was something that could change the structure of a sect. Naturally, it would be very valuable. Without hesitation, he sold the jade slip. The battlefield imprint on the back of his hand heated up slightly. Lu Yi lowered his head to check. Name, Lu Yi. Identity, disciple of the Jade Blood Sect. Cultivation, Second Order Cloud River Realm. Location, Cloud River Battlefield. Merit points, 92,250 points. Battle merit points, 56. His original merit points were more than 57,000. Now that it had increased by 35,000, the number matched. Moreover, compared to before, there were all kinds of information recorded in the battlefield imprint. This time, there was an extra merit point. The number displayed was the number left after he exchanged for the spirit lot at the military supply department. More than 90,000 merit points was undoubtedly a huge number. Looking at the entire Cloud River battlefield, there were probably not many cultivators who could have so many merit points. After all, no one would deliberately accumulate merit points. Generally, they would convert it into their own strength as soon as possible. Now that the secret technique had been sold, the Tianji treasure vault had a record. In the future, cultivators of the beast taming school could spend a certain amount of merit points to buy it from the treasure vault. Lu Yi was curious. This thing sold for 50,000 merit points. Who knew how many merit points it would cost to buy it? After checking, he quickly found the beast seal secret technique. Looking at the price, it was more than 8,000 merit points. It was even more expensive than the best heaven-grade secret technique. Compared to the 50,000 merit points he sold, 8,000 was not a lot. But don't forget, Lu Yi sold it for a one-time deal. But in the Tianji treasure vault, he could sell it repeatedly. There were many cultivators of the beast-taming school in the 9 continents. In front of the mainstream sects, the beast-taming school was a small sect. But compared to other small sects, the beast-taming school was a big sect. Presumably, many people would be interested in this secret technique. If 1 copy sold for 8,000 merit points, 10 copies would be 80,000 merit points. In terms of doing business, the Tianji treasure vault had a unique advantage. But Lu Yi couldn't find a buyer to sell this thing himself. Cultivators couldn't use merit points for transactions. Moreover, selling to cultivators wouldn't get the attention of the Tianji treasure vault. Compared to the merit points obtained, this was the biggest advantage. Lu Ye's current luck was good enough, but no one would mind if their luck was better. His mind left the Tianji treasure vault. Lu Yi walked out of the Tianji Business Alliance. Xia Qianqian and Shin Kitten were still waiting for him, but Lan Zi was nowhere to be seen. This woman had obviously taken the opportunity to run away. She had been waiting here because she didn't want to miss out on this opportunity. Now that she had gotten her hands on the benefits, how could she stay here any longer? If Lu Yi found the opportunity, he would definitely kill her. She was most likely no match for Lu Yi in her current state. Xia Qianqian said, "This matter is over. I'm leaving. If you have anything in the future, call me." Shen Kitten said goodbye and watched Xia Qianqian fly into the sky. "Yi Lu, are we going back?" Shen Kitten asked. "I'm going to buy some things. You go back first. I'll wait for you. It's not urgent anyway." Lu Yi turned and walked back into the Tianji Business Alliance. He needed to buy some materials to make formation flags. This time, in the mystery realm of the 10,000 beasts, he had used up most of his formation flags. For a formation cultivator, not having enough formation flags and formation bases would undoubtedly affect their performance. In the past, when Lu Yi was in the Spirit Stream tier, he could only buy some ready-made formation flags from the Tianji treasure vault. Because the cultivation of the Spirit Stream tier was still too weak, there was no way to make formation flags out of thin air. Lu Yi had been running around, and even if he had the materials, there was no suitable place to make them. But now that he was in the Cloud River tier, things were different. His cultivation had increased greatly, and he could almost make formation flags in the air without the help of external forces. Lu Yi planned to make a batch of formation flags himself. This way, he could save a lot of merit points. Less than an hour later, Lu Yi walked out of the Tianji Business Alliance again. He had spent almost all of his spirit stones in exchange for a large pile of materials to make formation flags. Shen Kitten was still waiting outside. Moreover, if a cultivator was willing to spend a certain amount of merit points, they could ask the heavenly secret to manifest the spring spirit. Then, they could use a special container to contain the spring spirit and take it away. In this way, the spiritual spring became a dead object. Lu Yi was surprised. When he first entered the Cloudy River battlefield, although he bought a lot of information from the Heavenly Secret Business Alliance, those information did not mention the spring spirit. It seemed that there were still many things he did not understand. Chapter 483. Lu Yi originally thought that after he and Shin Kitten left the spiritual land for a few days, the worst situation they would face after returning was that the spiritual land would be occupied by someone else. If that was the case, they would have to fight and think of a way to snatch the spiritual land back. A third-grade spiritual land was not something that a true expert would take a fancy to. Cultivators who could take a fancy to a third-grade spiritual land were generally not very high in cultivation. Lu Yi and Shin Kitten might not be afraid of others if they joined forces. However, he really did not expect that something worse than he expected would happen. Others did not occupy his spiritual land at all. Instead, they took the firewood from under the cauldron and snatched the spring spirit away. Why do you want to snatch the spring spirit? You can sell it or use it yourself. Shin Kitten continued to explain. For example, if we snatch someone else's spring spirit and place it here, then the spirit spring can recover. The dead spring can become a living spring. If we place it in the living spring, then the quality of the spirit spring will also improve. There are so many first-grade spiritual lands in the Cloud River battlefield now. Not all of them are born first grade. Most of them have fused with many spring spirits and slowly increased their grade. You can do that. Many people who own spiritual lands will do that. In that case, if the number of people with cultivation is not enough, wouldn't owning a spiritual land attract disaster? That's right. So if people find an ownerless spiritual spring, they will try their best to gather enough people in a short period of time. Otherwise, it will be difficult to keep it. She hesitated for a moment. Then she said, "Sister Yi is really gone." Lu Yi waved his hand. "He is fine. She just sent me a message." A perfectly good spiritual land had been turned into such a state. A bloody loss. Not only did he lose a spiritual land, but many of the array flags and the base of a protective array that Lu Yi had left here had also been forcefully destroyed. Although he still had a few sets of protective array bases, each set was worth more than 10,000 merit points. Even someone as rich as Lu Yi, he could not help but feel heartache. The entrance to the secret realm of the realm of beasts was nearby. Previously, it had attracted many cultivators to gather. Many people did not make it in time for the secret realm to open. However, the cultivators who gathered after hearing the news increased the risk of the spiritual land being exposed. This spiritual land was most likely discovered by someone. Now, it was unrealistic to want to find out who did it. Moreover, even if they found out, Lu Yi and Shin Xiaomao may not be a match for him. Previously, the opening of the Realm of Beasts sealed world had attracted many Cloud River Realm 8th or 9th Order Masters, so being able to see through the concealment of the spirit array arranged by Lu Yi was definitely not weak. This meant that the other party did not understand the array Dao. Lu Yi recalled the words of the goateed elder in the Realm of Beasts. The old man said that things had been going too smoothly for him recently, and that there might be some twists and turns so he might lose something. This was really a prophecy. The old man's words were both true and false, although he had the ability to control qi. However, Lu Yeben did not take his words to heart. Now, it seemed that he had underestimated the other party. He also said that there was a strand of purple qi entangling his providence. He told himself to be careful. Purple qi. Lu Yi couldn't figure out what it was. The spiritual land has been destroyed. There was no point in overthinking it, so Lu Yi set up some simple spirit arrays nearby for warning and protection purposes. Only then did he enter his room. No matter what, it was more important to increase his cultivation first. Now, he had a golden spiritual stick in his hand. 2 purple spiritual sticks. A streak of blue. 1 green, 2 white. There were so many spiritual sticks. It was enough for him to advance to the 3rd Order Cloud River Realm. First, he constructed a large spirit-gathering spirit rune. Then, Lu Yi constructed many small spirit-gathering funnels on his body. Only then did he sit down cross-legged. Hu Po also jumped down. Squatting beside him, he looked at him with bright eyes. Yi also flashed out of Hu Po's body, ready to cultivate. Lu Yi took out the golden spiritual stick first and crushed it. Just like before, with the shattering of the spiritual stick, golden powder condensed and spun in front of Lu Yi. It turned into a golden circle, and from that circle, a large amount of pure spirit mist was produced out of thin air. As soon as the spirit mist appeared, it lingered around Lu Yi. It gathered and did not disperse. As he breathed, as the small spirit gathering funnel swallowed, it quickly poured into his body and turned into his own spirit energy. This spirit mist was pure and flawless. There was no need to refine it at all. He only needed to absorb it and it would become his own strength. This was also the reason why the spiritual stick could quickly increase a cultivator's strength. This kind of cultivation was many times more efficient than cultivators simply swallowing world energy. Hu Pernyi sat on Lu Ye's left and right, sharing the joy of becoming stronger with him. The difference was that Hu Pe and Yi were seriously swallowing world energy, but Lu Yi was a little bored. He simply took out a saber technique cultivation experience to study. With the increase of his cultivation and the bloody battles, he had a deeper understanding of his saber technique than before. Especially in the battle with the Black Tortoise sect Master Niu Meng, that burst of inspiration between life and death had benefited him a lot. In terms of saber technique, he might have a breakthrough in the near future. Time passed bit by bit. It was not until a day and a night later that the golden circle slowly disappeared. The effect of the golden spiritual stick was exhausted. Lu Yi immediately took out a purple spiritual stick and crushed it. Soon, the original golden circle in front of him was replaced by a purple one. Rich and pure spirit mist gushed out from it. He had experimented before. After using different colors of spiritual sticks, there was no difference in the energy born. It was just that the duration of the energy was different. Therefore, in terms of value, the golden spiritual stick was the highest, and the white one was the lowest. After all, a golden spiritual stick was equivalent to 81 white spiritual sticks. 2 hours later, the effect of the purple spiritual stick had not yet been exhausted. Suddenly, Lu Yi felt something and put down the saber technique cultivation experience in his hand. The world energy river in his body was surging endlessly, as if it had reached a bottleneck. As a large amount of pure world energy continued to pour into his body, the world energy river gradually gave Lu Yi a sense of fullness. The feeling of fullness gradually deepened until a certain moment, when the surging river water fiercely surged, and the volume of the river of spirit energy suddenly expanded. The feeling of fullness also disappeared, and the fiercely flowing river of spirit energy calmed down at this moment. Third Order Cloud River Realm. Lu Yi was slightly stunned. Even if he had expected this in his heart, breaking through to the Third Order so quickly still made him happy. The Cloud River Realm was really a magical realm. He had only been in the Cloud River battlefield for half a month, yet he had already broken through to the Second Order. It had only been 20 days since he had broken through. When he was in the Spirit Stream realm, he could not break through so quickly. It took him several months to break through each layer, and he could only open one spirit aperture at a time. Of course, the reason he could break through so quickly was because he had used enough spiritual sticks. The last time he was able to break through to the Second Order, it was because he had spent a lot of merit points to buy a spiritual stick from the Heavenly Secret Commerce Union. Before that, he had already used a green spiritual stick and a purple spiritual stick. This time, it was because he had obtained nearly 30,000 merit points in the realm of beasts, all of which he had exchanged for spiritual sticks. If it were an ordinary Cloud River realm cultivator, they would not have such good luck and financial resources when they first entered the Cloud River battlefield. When a monster beast advanced to the Monster General realm, it needed to condense a monster core within its body. That point of condensation was undoubtedly the condensation of a monster core. However, even though Hupo was in a deep sleep, the pure spirit chi continued to flow into his body. Because of the condensation of his monster core, the speed of the spirit chi entering his body was even faster than before. To Lu Yi, Hupo's advancement was undoubtedly a happy event. If he also counted in E, then it would be 3 consecutive happy events. Chapter 484. Previously, Hoopa could not provide much help to Lu Yi, but if Hoopa advanced to a demon general, he would have the capital to establish himself in the Cloud River battlefield. Especially now that they had formed a bond of life and beast mark, the stronger Hoopa was, the greater the benefits he could bring to Lu Yi. And she was Hoopo's nightmare spirit. The two of them had shared honor and disgrace, and had grown up together. Once Hooper advanced to a demon general, he would definitely have the strength of the Cloud River tier. It could be said that this wave of cultivation had allowed Lu Ye's overall strength to increase by leaps and bounds. After another 4 hours, the purple spirit lot's effect was exhausted. Lu Yi took out a second purple lot and crushed it. Time passed peacefully in the boring cultivation. Until 3 days later, there was a knock on the door from outside. Lu Yi put away the scroll in his hand and got up to open the door. Standing outside was Shen Kitten. "What's the matter?" Shen Little Kitten's gaze went past him and looked inside. She saw Hoopa, who was in a deep sleep. She didn't care too much and said, "The spirit of the spring has been stolen. The spiritual land here is considered to be destroyed. What are your plans in the future?" Lu Yi shook his head. He really did not have any plans. It was not like the Spirit Stream battlefield. Over there, every sect had their own encampment. If there was no place to go, they could return to the encampment to cultivate. In the Cloud River battlefield, cultivators without spiritual lands were pitiful homeless people who could only wander around in search of opportunities. Then do you want to come with me? Shen Kitten asked expectantly. Where to? A friend of mine just sent me a message saying that she encountered a newly born spiritual land and is lacking manpower. I'm going to meet her. If you're willing, we can go together. You happen to be a formation cultivator, so I believe she won't reject you. In the entire Cloudy River battlefield, array cultivators were undoubtedly the most popular group of people. This was because having an array cultivator guarding a spirit land and not having one were two different things. Therefore, even if Lu Ye's cultivation was slightly lower, with his skills in array Dao, as long as he was willing, any spirit land below grade B would take him in. The first thing Shin Little Cat thought of when she received the message was Lu Yi. She also asked her friend and got the approval of that person. Only then did she invite him. After pondering for a moment, Lu Yi shook his head and said, "Thank you for your kindness, but I won't be going with you. I still have to find my fellow disciple." That damn giant beetle. Perhaps it was lost or something. It had already been a month or two, but it still hadn't found this place. Lu Yi had sent it a message yesterday, but he found out that the location it reported was at least half a month's journey away from him. And this was the normal traveling speed of a Cloud River tier cultivator. Based on the giant armor's previous performance, it would take at least a few months for it to arrive. Moreover, now that Hupa was at a critical juncture of its advancement, Lu Yi couldn't leave this place, let alone take it away. Although the Spirit Beast Pouch could be used, if it was placed in the Spirit Beast Pouch and affected Hupo's advancement, then the loss would outweigh the gain. If that's the case... Shen Kitten's expectant eyes turned to disappointment. She probed, "Why don't you reconsider?" Lu Yi shook his head. Shen Little Cat smiled and said, "All right then, I won't force you. I hope that when we meet again in the future, we won't become enemies." To this day, neither side knew the other's real name, nor did they know which side they belonged to. This wasn't a common occurrence in the Spirit Stream battlefield, but it was a common occurrence in the Cloud River battlefield. Moreover, the two people who were as close as family just a moment ago, in the blink of an eye, fighting to the death was not a rare occurrence. Previously, in the mystery realm of the 10,000 beasts, if Lan Zi hadn't run away quickly, Lu Yi would have taken the opportunity to kill her. Have a safe journey. Take care. Shen Little Cat gave Lu Yi a brilliant smile, then turned around and soared into the sky, turning into a stream of light, quickly disappearing into the horizon. The two people who had met by chance naturally couldn't continue walking side by side. After the bond that held the two together disappeared, sooner or later they would go their separate ways. There wasn't too much sorrow of parting. Their relationship hadn't reached that level yet. Shen Little Cat left freely, and Lu Ye's heart was also unperturbed. In the course of a cultivator's life, this kind of thing wasn't rare. Lu Yi raised his head and looked up. Bits of pure white drifted down. He reached out his hand, and the cold fell on his palm, quickly melting. It was snowing. Before this, he didn't notice the drop in temperature at all. This reminded him of the days when he was a slave miner in Evil Moon Valley. That winter was the most difficult one he had ever experienced. Many slave miners froze to death in the mine because they didn't have enough to eat or warm clothes. He had to strip off the dead people's clothes and wear them to barely keep warm. Today, as a third-order Cloud River Realm cultivator, he didn't feel the natural change in his chi, because this kind of wind and snow wasn't enough to affect him. Turning around, he walked back into the house and continued to cultivate and read. All the spirit sticks had been consumed, so he could only rely on swallowing spirit pills to cultivate. Compared to other cultivators in terms of swallowing spirit pills, Lu Yi had a great advantage. As long as he didn't lack fuel for his talent tree, no matter how many spirit pills he swallowed, there wouldn't be any hidden dangers. The premise was that he could refine the medicinal efficacies of the pills in time. This was also the reason why he didn't rely on the spirit land. The snow was very heavy. After cultivating for a long time, Lu Yi walked out of the house to stretch his muscles and sharpen his saber technique. Dancing with his saber in the snow, it was a unique experience. Recently, he had a strong feeling that his saber technique had reached a bottleneck, and there were faint signs of a breakthrough. However, a breakthrough in saber technique was different from a breakthrough in cultivation. A breakthrough in cultivation had a very clear and direct feeling. The opening of spirit apertures in the spirit stream realm, and the expansion of the spirit river realm in the body in the cloud river realm were all specific things. However, a breakthrough in saber technique was a mysterious feeling, which couldn't be helped by swallowing spirit pills or breathing spirit chi. If he could enter the mirage realm with the help of the breath fruit, it might be beneficial for his breakthrough. However, in the current situation, Hoopa was in a deep sleep, so it was really inconvenient for him to enter the mirage realm. If an enemy came to his door while his mind was immersed in the mirage realm, he wouldn't be able to fight back. Although this place was remote, for Cloud River realm cultivators who could fly, there was no remote place in this world. These days, there were also many cultivators passing by above, but Lu Yi had long set up a concealment formation. As long as he didn't make too much noise, others wouldn't discover him unless they checked carefully. After Hoopa slept for 7 days, the snow was still falling outside the house, and the snow in the mountains was already 3 feet deep. Lu Yi was practicing his saber technique outside the house when some strange sounds suddenly came from inside the house. He quickly turned his head to look inside the house. What entered his eyes was Yi's figure flying straight out of the house. Lu Ye's eyes lit up, and he withdrew his saber to meet her. Yi directly threw herself into Lu Ye's arms, knocking him down on the snow. Her 2 small hands tightly hugged Lu Ye's waist, and her head buried in Lu Ye's chest. Her beautiful hair spread out, and Lu Yi even smelled the wonderful fragrance of her hair. Raising a hand to touch the small head in his arms, Lu Yi was puzzled. What's wrong? Although they had gone through life and death together for 2 to 3 years, and had grown up together, they had long since regarded each other as family. However, he had never felt such a strong burst of emotion before. Lu Yi could clearly feel her small body trembling slightly, and that was fear and shock. Lu Yi, I had a very, very long and very, very deep dream. I thought I would never wake up again. Yi's voice was choked with sobs. Hoopa had fallen into a deep sleep during his advancement, and even Yi, the nightmare spirit, had been directly affected. In Lu Ye's world, only 7 days had passed, but in Yi's world, more than 7 days had passed, and it was probably even longer than 7 years. This feeling made her recall the past. She had had this feeling a long time ago, until suddenly one day, when she suddenly woke up. Since then, she had become Hoopa's nightmare spirit. So, for her, what she was most afraid of was that feeling of falling into a deep sleep and not being able to wake up. I'm so scared. Yi burst into tears. Lu Yi gently stroked her head and comforted her. Don't be scared, don't be scared. Wake up from your dream. Yi cried even louder. A tiger's head reflected in Lu Ye's vision. It was Hoopa who had walked out of the house. Looking at his energetic appearance, it was obvious that his advancement had ended, which was why he and Yi had both woken up. Lu Yi gave Hoopa a look, and Hoopa immediately turned his head to the side, indicating that he didn't know anything about coaxing girls. Lu Ye's gaze was like a knife as she fiercely glared at Hoopa. Hoopa's expression was innocent. Since she couldn't count on Hoopa, Lu Yi could only raise her hand and gently pat Yi's back. She softly hummed a cheerful song to dispel the sadness in her heart. Hoopa perked up his big ears to listen. Gradually, Yi's cries became softer, and turned into soft sobs until she completely stopped. She raised her head and climbed onto Lu Ye's body, her red eyes full of surprise as she looked at Lu Yi. This was because she had never heard Lu Yi sing, and the melody of this song was also something she had never heard before. What song is this? Yi asked as she sniffled. Don't be scared, don't be scared. What a strange song title. Yi's eyes were full of suspicion, wondering if Lu Yi was lying to her. She then made a request, sing for me. I only know how to hum. I don't care, sing for me. Yi said, her mouth almost flattened again. Sing. Clearing her throat, Lu Yi tried hard to recall the memories that had been sealed in the depths of her mind, recalling the lyrics that had long been scattered. A moment later, her out-of-tune singing soared in the heavy snow. Hoopa listened for a while, then used a front paw to cover its face. Yi was also holding back her laughter, her face red. At first, Lu Yi was a little shy, but as she sang, she became unrestrained. After all, there were only 2 listeners, Yi and Hoopa, so there was nothing to be embarrassed about. After she finished singing, Lu Yi secretly stuffed a snowball behind Yi's neck and laughed maniacally. "Little girl, you dare to laugh at me." Chapter 485. In the dilapidated spiritual land, tiger roars, laughter, and screams continuously rang out as snowballs flew here and there. After Lu Yi stuffed a snowball into the back of Yi's neck, the situation got out of hand. Snowball fights on snowy days were ingrained in the deepest recesses of Lu Ye's memory. Fortunately, he was not out of practice, especially now that he was a cultivator at the Cloud River tier. His physical fitness was extraordinary. As he circulated his spiritual power, he raised his hand, and a snowball appeared in his hand. Snowballs of various sizes flew through the air, creating a buzzing sound in all directions. Hoopa and Yi's hearts were linked, and their cooperation was seamless. One was responsible for blocking Lu Ye's attacks, while the other was responsible for counterattacking, causing the battle to be in full swing. This continued until Hoopa found an opportunity to push Lu Yi to the ground. Then, a huge snowball the size of a water tank fell from the sky, directly burying the man and the tiger. He jumped high, excitedly cheering, "I won!" The snow surged, and a majestic tiger head poked out, shaking off the snow on its body. Yi walked forward, looking down at Lu Yi who was lying on the ground. She chuckled, "I won." Lu Yi was buried in the snow, only revealing his face. He quietly looked at the heavy snow falling from the sky, a thoughtful look in his eyes. Suddenly, he jumped up, half-squatted, and raised his hand to grasp the hilt of his saber. Clear hot air slowly exhaled from his mouth, and the falling snow quickly melted before it landed on his body. A sharp aura gathered around him, and his entire person seemed to have turned into a long saber. The spirit and tiger hurriedly jumped to the side, adopting a defensive posture. However, Li did not move for a long time. He slowly closed his eyes, maintaining the posture of holding his saber. At a certain moment, his eyes opened, and his saber suddenly unsheathed. A fiery red saber light flashed, and a bright saber light slashed out. The saber light was like a crescent moon. It flew out from the saber, breaking through the restraints of space, and slashed out a distance of more than 30 meters. It sank into the stone wall, leaving a deep mark on it. After this slash, Lu Yi slowly took a deep breath, and slowly returned his saber to its sheath. All kinds of comprehension of his saber techniques surged in his heart, and compared to before, he had a deeper understanding. Who said that one could only break through secluded cultivation? This snowball fight was very worth it. However, being able to break through the bottleneck of his saber techniques at this time was also related to the various accumulations during this period of time. This accumulation had reached a limit, and he only needed an opportunity to break through. Lu Yi had been looking for this opportunity before, but unfortunately, he did not find it. It wasn't until he had a snowball fight with Yi and Hoopa without any distractions that the opportunity that he couldn't find for so long appeared on its own. People said that when one was cultivating, one should be relaxed and have the Tao. This was quite reasonable. "Lu Yi, the house is gone," he said bitterly. Lu Yi looked up and saw that the house where he and Shin Kitten used to live had collapsed. It was collapsed by the snowballs. The other houses had also become dilapidated. Without the spirit spring, the spiritual land was already dilapidated. Now it was even more messy. Where are we, and where, and the spirit spring of this spiritual land had been taken away, so there was no point in staying. Lu Yi had planned to wait for Hoopa to become a demon general before leaving. Hearing Lu Ye's words, Hoopa immediately perked up. He had a very good relationship with Giant Armor, and they were almost inseparable from each other on the Spirit Stream battlefield. Unfortunately, Hoopa had not seen Giant Armor since it became a Cloud River. Hoopa's demon chi surged, and he turned into the size of a cat, leaping onto Lu Ye's shoulder. Lu Yi summoned his spirit boat, and Yi jumped in front of him to sit cross-legged. Facing the wind and snow, the spirit boat soared into the sky. Compared to a low-grade spirit tool, a mid-grade spirit tool was undoubtedly much more comfortable. At the very least, it had the protection of a spirit barrier. This way, no matter how strong the wind and snow were, it would not affect Lu Yi and Ti. Flying in a direction as fast as lightning, Yi's cheerful singing drifted down along the way. She was singing the song Lu Yi had sung for her before. Lu Yi flew on his spirit tool while holding Hoopa in his hand to check on its changes. Compared to before, Hoopa, who was now a demon general, seemed to have become smoother and more lustrous. His aura was also much more vigorous. A demonic beast becoming a demon general was similar to a cultivator breaking through from the spirit stream realm to the cloud river realm. There was a huge leap in strength. However, there was no battle, so Lu Yi was not sure how strong Hoopa had become. "Awoo!" Hoopa growled. Lu Yi understood and took out a demon core from his storage space. Hoopa bit down on it and held it in his mouth. Immediately after, he heard the sound of chewing. Hoopa could eat spirit pills and even spirit stones. However, his favorite food was the demon cores of demonic beasts. Ever since he had tasted demon cores in the Cloud River battlefield, Hoopa could not forget them. Lu Yi did not have many demon cores on hand. He had obtained them all from the myriad beast realm's secret realm, and he only had a dozen or so. The thick clouds in the sky dispersed, and the sun shone down. The snow had stopped. "You take control." Lu Yi pointed Yi in a direction and let her control the spirit boat. He took out some materials from his storage space that he had bought from the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance to refine array flags. He had refined array flags before, but at that time, his cultivation wasn't high enough, so he had to refine them in the artifact refining workshop of the Sky Expanse sect. Now that his cultivation had reached the third-order Cloud River realm, he could refine array flags in the air without any external assistance. Previously, when he was waiting for Hoopa to break through, he had also refined some array flags. However, for a cultivator like him who was proficient in the Tao of arrays, the more array flags he had, the better. After all, array flags were often consumables. When night fell, Yi found a place to rest. They would continue their journey when the sun rose. The bonfire crackled. Lu Yi took out a palm-sized copper plate from his storage space and used his spirit energy to investigate it. "Did you find this in the storage bag of that Xinxing sect cultivator from last time?" He came up to him. Last time, on the way back from the Heavenly Secret Commerce Alliance to the Spirit Land, they had met a Xinxing sect cultivator who was seriously injured and on the verge of death. The other party had entrusted Lu Yi to return his sword to Xinxing sect. Other than that, Lu Yi could keep all his belongings. This copper plate was found in the other party's storage bag. When Lu Yi had poured his spirit energy into it, he had noticed that there was something in a certain direction that had some connection with the copper plate. However, at that time, Lu Yi had not been in the mood to investigate the secrets hidden in the copper plate. The reason why he had taken it out now was because the direction the copper plate was resonating with was the direction he was heading in. "What is this?" "I'm not sure." Since they were heading in the same direction, he could find an opportunity to investigate. Of course, if the distance was too far, he would still have to meet up with giant armor first. Putting away the copper plate, Lu Yi took out some materials to refine array flags. Only after midnight did he rest for a while. He traveled during the day and rested at night. The journey was safe and sound. 3 days later, Lu Yi held the copper plate in his hand and steered the spirit boat. He was circling above an undulating mountain range. According to the copper plate in his hand, the place he was looking for should be within this range. However, he still had to search carefully for the exact location. On the map, this mountain range was not even specially marked. Looking at the entire Cloud River battlefield, there were countless mountain ranges like this. Lu Yi did not see anything special about this place. However, since the copper plate was guiding him, there was clearly something hidden in this place. It was not until an hour later that Lu Yi confirmed the exact location. He landed in front of a rock wall. When he arrived, the copper plate in his hand suddenly glowed. It was also faintly burning his hand. "Lu Yi, over here." He waved from the side. Clearly, she had discovered something. Lu Yi followed the sound and saw a pit in front of the rock wall. The shape of the pit was exactly the same as the copper plate in his hand. Lu Yi held the copper plate and raised his hand to place it in the pit. At the same time, he pressed his hand on the hilt of his saber and secretly urged his spirit energy to guard against any accidents. He did not know what he could find here or whether he would encounter any danger. Naturally, he had to maintain sufficient vigilance. No danger appeared. After the copper plate was embedded in the pit, the thick rock wall in front of him suddenly surged with spirit energy and turned into a light curtain. Lu Yi hesitated for a moment and called Yi to let her return to Hu Po's body first. Only then did he step forward. His figure passed through the light curtain and walked in without any hindrance. At the same time, the copper plate flashed with golden light and a golden light enveloped Lu Yi. After Lu Yi walked into the light curtain, the rock wall returned to its original appearance. Even the copper plate that Lu Yi had embedded in the rock wall had mysteriously disappeared, leaving only a pit. His vision was pitch black. Lu Yi raised his mountain saber and constructed a sunshine spirit rune. It was as if he was holding a small sun, illuminating his surroundings. There was no aura of living creatures. Lu Yi felt a strong sense of familiarity with the place he was in. In Evil Moon Valley, he often went in and out of places like this. This was a mine tunnel. Looking back, he could no longer see the rock wall he had entered from. Behind him was also a deep mine tunnel, extending into the darkness. After passing through the light curtain, Lu Yi seemed to have been directly transported in. This made him somewhat puzzled. What exactly was this place? He thought that following the copper plate's guidance would lead him to some treasure, but he did not expect to directly enter this mine tunnel. Under the light of the sunshine spirit rune, the mine tunnel sparkled. Lu Yi stepped forward to investigate and raised his eyebrows, revealing a surprised expression. He also flashed forward and exclaimed a moment later, "Lu Yi, there are so many spirit stones. We're rich." Those sparkling things were actually pieces of spirit stones that were exposed to the air. This was actually a spirit stone mine. For all cultivators, spirit stones were indispensable materials for cultivation. Swallowing spirit pills would lead to the accumulation of pill toxins, and the spirit chi of heaven and earth would be limited by the environment. Therefore, when cultivators cultivated and recovered, they would hold spirit stones in their hands and absorb the spirit energy in the spirit stones. Spirit stream stage cultivators generally used low-grade spirit stones. Only when they reached the Cloud River stage would they use mid-grade spirit stones, because the spirit energy provided by low-grade spirit stones could not keep up with the recovery of Cloud River stage cultivators. Chapter 486. Spirit stones were an essential cultivation resource, and there was no doubt about their usefulness to cultivators. Moreover, they were also a bargaining chip in transactions. As long as they had enough spirit stones, cultivators could basically buy anything they wanted. Of course, spirit stones couldn't be used in the Tianji treasure trove, and the transactions their only recognized merit. Following the copper piece's guidance, he actually found a spirit stone mine here. Lu Yi suddenly recalled that he had found close to 10,000 spirit stones of varying quality from the dead cultivator of the Shenxing sect. At the time, he had sighed that the cultivator was quite rich. Now, it seemed that the spirit stones on the cultivator's body were most likely mined from here. For any Cloud River tier cultivator, close to 10,000 spirit stones was a considerable amount of wealth, and this didn't even include the value of the other items in his storage pouch. Standing in the mine tunnel, Lu Yi's body was enveloped in a layer of golden light. This golden light wasn't his own spiritual power, but rather the light from the copper piece embedded in the rock wall when he entered this place. Lu Yi sensed it for a moment, and this golden light didn't have any protective power, nor did it cause any trouble for him. However, it condensed on the surface of his body without dissipating, and he didn't know what it was for. Looking at the spirit stones around the mine, Lu Yi didn't need to examine them to know that they were all medium-grade spirit stones, and there were at least several hundred of them. Just as Lu Yi was observing, Hu Po, who was crouching on his shoulder, suddenly leaped down. Demonic essence roiled, and Hu Po revealed his true form, growling at the darkness ahead. Lu Yi also raised his hand and pressed down on the hilt of his saber. In the darkness ahead, there was a faint rustling sound, and he could clearly sense that something was rapidly approaching. He had already burrowed into the ground at the first moment. The sound grew closer and closer, and a moment later, a monster the size of a calf suddenly charged out of the darkness. This monster had something that looked like a deer's antlers on its head, and at first glance, it looked somewhat like a rhinoceros. However, its body was covered in a thick layer of carapace. Hooper immediately charged forward. The monster lowered its head, and the horn on its head charged at Hooper. The instant they closed in, Hooper nimbly dodged to the side, raised his tiger claw, and slapped down on the monster's body. As if slapping down on steel, a dull sound rang out. The monster staggered from the impact, and Hooper took advantage of the situation to pounce on it, opening his bloody mouth and biting at it. However, the monster's carapace seemed to have an extremely strong defense, and Hooper couldn't bite through it after a few bites. The monster's carapace, however, was shaken off. Lu Ye's mountain saber, and a fiery red light, the saber's edge. The monster's mountain saber, S head, saber chi, S, and the saber's blades, L. The monster staggered a few steps before collapsing to the ground. Lu Yi raised his brow. He really could encounter such strange creatures wherever he went. There were Zergs in the Spirit Stream battlefield, and there were also Zergs in the Cloud River battlefield. When he was training in the Mirage Realm, he would often encounter Zergs. He didn't expect to encounter them in a spirit stone mine he found during a treasure hunt. When Lu Yi first saw it, he thought it was some kind of monster beast. It was only after he killed it that he confirmed that it was an insect. Moreover, it was an insect equivalent to a Cloud River Realm cultivator. However, if one really had to judge its strength, it was equivalent to a first or second order Cloud River Realm cultivator. Lu Yi naturally didn't have too much trouble killing such an insect. Even if he didn't intervene just now, Hooper alone could have dealt with it. The strength of the insect race lay in their large numbers and reproductive ability. Generally speaking, a single insect couldn't pose any threat to a cultivator. Lu Yi shook off the bloodstains on his mountain coiling saber and put it away. He stood in place with Hooper and waited for a while. He suddenly appeared from the side and whispered to Lu Yi, "The mine tunnels here are full of spirit stones. The deeper you go, the higher the quality of the spirit stones, and the more abundant they are. However, there is an insect in every tunnel, and the deeper you go, the stronger the insect is. In other words, if we want to mine the spirit stones, we have to deal with these insects first." Lu Yi understood. From the looks of it, the copper plate should be a kind of opportunity that could allow cultivators to obtain a large number of spirit stones. However, if one wanted to obtain this kind of opportunity, they had to deal with the insects in the mine first. This was probably also a kind of test. As for where this opportunity and test came from, there was no doubt that it was the work of the heavens. Lu Yi had just spent most of the spirit stones he had a while ago, so he naturally couldn't miss this opportunity to obtain a large number of spirit stones. Immediately, he and Yi worked together to mine out the spirit stones in the tunnel they were in. They were all spirit stones that were exposed on the surface, so it wasn't difficult to mine them. In just an hour, all the spirit stones that could be mined were mined. It was about the same as his previous estimation. There were about 600 to 700 spirit stones in this tunnel. He walked forward and turned a corner. Another tunnel appeared in front of him. Lu Yi didn't activate the Sunshine Spirit rune anymore. Instead, he held a torch. If someone really naively thought that he was a magic cultivator and used methods that targeted magic cultivators to deal with him, they would definitely suffer. Among cultivators, there were actually many such old foxes. However, no matter what faction the other party belonged to, with Lu Ye's current strength, he definitely wouldn't have a good end against a 7th or 8th order cultivator. So, after a little observation, Lu Yi immediately added a wind attribute spirit rune to his spirit boat. In an instant, its speed increased sharply, and at the same time, he urged the spirit boat to fly to the side. When he turned, the young man behind him also turned. "Lu Yi, he's chasing us." Yi also sensed that something was wrong. If he wasn't deliberately targeting them, there was no reason for him to chase them so closely. "I can see that," Lu Yi responded in a deep voice. What was certain was that he didn't know the other party, and the other party didn't know him either. The reason why he was chasing them like this was obviously because he didn't have good intentions. This kind of thing was very common in the Cloud River battlefield, so when cultivators with low cultivation were alone, they would rarely fly without restraint. They would either form a group or not travel too far to avoid being targeted. Being alone in the wilderness and being targeted by someone who was far stronger than him was undoubtedly a very troublesome matter. If he belonged to the same faction, then he could still avoid disaster. But if he belonged to the enemy faction, then he would definitely lose both his life and wealth. Fellow Taoist in front, please wait. The young man in pursuit shouted from behind, I have no ill intentions, fellow Taoist, please don't panic. There was no way Lu Yi would believe him. Chasing them directly and daring to say that he had no ill intentions, Lu Yi wasn't a fool. How could he believe him? Fellow Taoist, don't run anymore. If you keep running like this, I'll get angry. The young man continued to shout. Lu Yi turned a deaf ear. However, even if he added a wind attribute spirit rune to his spirit boat, he still couldn't shake off the other party. The distance between them was shrinking bit by bit. The difference in cultivation was too great, and the difference in the speed of their artifact flight was like heaven and earth. If Lu Yi hadn't added a wind attribute spirit rune to his spirit boat, he would have been caught long ago. In fact, the young man behind him was very surprised at this moment. In his opinion, Lu Yi was only a third-order Cloud River realm cultivator, so it didn't make sense for him to run so fast. His cultivation was 4 orders higher than Lu Ye's, but he couldn't catch up. This made the young man's eyes flash with a fiery look. The reason why the other party could run so fast was undoubtedly because of the spirit boat. This spirit boat must be an extremely good flight-type spirit artifact. Chapter 488. Realizing this, the young man chased even harder, shouting at the same time, Boy, if you know what's good for you, leave your belongings behind and I'll spare your life. Lu Yi had clearly seen through his intentions, so he decided not to put on an act. As soon as his voice fell, Lu Yi, who was fleeing in front of him, really threw out a storage bag. The young man was stunned, not expecting Lu Yi to be so obedient. He had robbed many lone cultivators on the Cloud River battlefield, but every one of them was stubborn. No matter how he threatened them, it was useless. Most of them were caught and killed by him. A few of them were from the same camp, but even if they were lucky enough to survive, they would lose a lot of their belongings. In any case, he wouldn't expose his identity, so even if someone wanted to take revenge on him afterwards, they wouldn't be able to find him. So when he saw Lu Yi really throw out a storage bag, he was a little uncomfortable for a moment. However, he reacted quickly and immediately turned around. Before the storage bag fell to the ground, he picked it up and continued to chase. He didn't know what was in the storage bag and couldn't open it for a while, but it was rare to meet such a timid guy, so how could he let him go so easily, especially when he coveted Lu Ye's spirit boat? Lu Yi, he's catching up again. On the spirit boat, Yi turned her head from time to time to report the situation behind Lu Yi. Hide. Yi immediately hid inside Hu Po's body. Losing a storage bag was nothing to Lu Yi. Now, all his belongings were stored in the storage space built by void spirit veins. The storage bag he carried was only used to confuse others, and at most, there was some water and food in it. He wanted to use the storage bag to get rid of the other party, but who knew that the other party wouldn't let him go and was determined to keep him here. He took out the 10-point map and checked it. The young man behind him shouted again, Boy, leave the spirit boat and I won't chase you. After saying that, he seemed to feel that this request was a bit excessive, so he added, Heaven's secret will bear witness. A road robber actually wanted Heaven's secret to bear witness? Lu Yi, who had been expressionless, almost laughed at him. After putting away the 10 pieces of paper, the spirit force around his body surged and a pair of fiery red wings spread out behind him. Under the sunlight, the wings were like 2 flowing flames, beautiful and magnificent. Then, Lu Yi put away his spirit boat and cast wind travel on himself. With a flap of his wings, he flew forward at an even faster speed than before. The young man chasing after Lu Yi was dumbfounded as he stared blankly at Lu Yi, who was quickly disappearing into the distance. never having imagined that such a person with low cultivation would have such a unique skill. However, this only made the young man's heart burn even hotter. After all, the people who came and went were all Cloud River tier cultivators. Without a strong enough background, no one would set any rules. From time to time, people would soar into the sky, and people would descend from the sky. The unique atmosphere of cultivators was vividly displayed here. There weren't many cultivators in the Heaven's Secret City, but there were definitely more than 1,000 of them. There were no streets in the city, and buildings of different styles stood here. Some were the residences of cultivators, while others were shops that sold things. The cultivators coming and going were very busy, and there were no conflicts. After all, if there were conflicts here, who knew how many enemies they would provoke? They were all Cloud River tier cultivators, and they were no longer children. They wouldn't do anything that would easily anger the crowd. Although Lu Yi had been to the same place as the Spirit Stream battlefield, the cities in the Cloud River battlefield were completely different. He walked and looked around, and stopped in front of a spirit fruit shop. Business was good in the shop, and many cultivators came and went. Lu Yi walked in to take a look, and found that there were many types of spirit fruits for sale. Some of the spirit fruits were obviously from different places, and each of the spirit fruits exuded a fragrant aroma. He didn't know what effects they had. He called over a shop assistant and asked, and only then did he find out that the spirit fruits here came from all over the 9 provinces. They were all brought here from their own sects by cultivators from all over the 9 provinces. No matter what kind of spirit fruit it had the effect of replenishing spiritual power. The spirit fruits that were sold here naturally wouldn't be too expensive. Lu Yi asked about the price, and spent 100 medium-grade spirit stones. He bought about 400 to 500 spirit fruits of various types, and put them all into his storage space. He walked out of the spirit fruit shop, and casually took out 2 spirit fruits. He gave one to Hu Pe and one for himself, and took a bite. The texture was crisp and sweet, and it was surprisingly delicious. After a short moment, Lu Yi put down the core of the spirit fruit, and raised his head to look at the building in front of him. The Heaven's Secrets Business Alliance. He had been in and out of many Heaven's Secrets business alliances, but this was the first time he had seen one as large as this one. There were at least 34 steps in front of the Merchant Alliance, and the outside of the Merchant Alliance was decorated with gold and jade, as if they were afraid that people didn't know they were rich. He walked up step by step. Suddenly, he felt something, and turned his head to see a man in a green robe looking at him. Their eyes met, and Lu Yi raised his eyebrows. It was sword cultivator Zhou Hai, and he nodded slightly in greeting. The other party also nodded slightly. Only 320 mid-rank spirit stones. This price really wasn't expensive. After splitting it up, each mask was only 40 mid-rank spirit stones. Thinking back to the Spirit Stream battlefield, when he first entered the Heavenly Secret Commerce Union, he was embarrassed and had to haggle with the manager. Now that he was rich and had long passed the stage of haggling over every penny, he straightforwardly gave up 320 mid-rank spirit stones and settled the deal. Putting away the box, Lu Yi said, "I want a room." He didn't know if the young man who chased him before was secretly watching him, so to be safe, he decided to stay here for a night before leaving. However, as long as that person wasn't stupid, he shouldn't continue to wait for him. After all, who didn't have a few powerful friends or fellow disciples? He also didn't know Lu Yi's background. If he continued to wait here, the biggest possibility was that Lu Yi would call someone over to teach him a lesson. For some uncertain benefits, it wasn't worthwhile to take such a risk. Under the manager's arrangement, Lu Yi quickly moved into a room on the 3rd floor. Compared to the wilderness or the spirit land, the accommodation in the Heavenly Secret Commerce Union's rooms was undoubtedly much better. Lu Yi also asked someone to send over some food, and after eating with Hu Pe, he began to cultivate. The spirit gathering array was set up, and several key locations were filled with high-grade spirit stones to increase the concentration of spirit energy in the room. There was also a dragon scale placed in the middle of the spirit gathering array. Under the operation of the spirit gathering array, a faint trace of blood energy escaped and was absorbed by Lu Yi and Hu Pe. Under the dragon spring, Lu Yi obtained a total of 5 dragon scales, each of which contained much richer blood qi than the previous one. Lu Yi gave one of the dragon scales to Hu Po for him to swallow and refine. He still had 4 left, one for giant armor. As a body cultivator, the blood qi in the dragon scales would undoubtedly be of great help to him. While cultivating and reading, Lu Yi suddenly received a message from the battlefield mark. Looking down, he was surprised to find that it was actually Xia Qianqian. He didn't know what a Cloud River 9th Order cultivator wanted from him. "What's the matter? Are you in West 16th Heaven's secret city?" Xia Qianqian asked. Lu Yi instinctively wanted to ask her, "How did you know?" After the sealed world in the realm of beasts, he and Xia Qianqian had been separated and hadn't contacted each other. It made no sense for her to know his whereabouts. Lu Yi even suspected that she had planted some kind of tracking secret technique on her body. But soon, Lu Yi figured out how she knew his location. "Zhou Hai told you." Once his true identity was exposed, it was likely that he would attract all kinds of attention. As for Lu Yi putting away his mountain saber, Xia Qianqian naturally knew what he was planning. She was happy to see this. Suddenly, a stream of light shot up from below and approached the two. Xia Qianqian said, "He's one of us." Soon, the person arrived in front of them. It was a tall and sturdy man. Looking at the bulging muscles all over his body, it was obvious that he was a body cultivator. Judging from the spirit energy fluctuations coming from this body cultivator, he was a 5th Order Cloud River Realm cultivator. It seemed that this was another helper that Xia Qianqian had found and had been waiting for her outside. The body cultivator approached and cupped his fists to Xia Qianqian, "Senior Sister Xia." Xia Qianqian nodded slightly. The body cultivator looked at Lu Yi again. Although it was strange that Lu Yi was wearing a fox mask in broad daylight and acting so sneakily as if he couldn't see anyone, a 3rd Order Cloud River Realm cultivator was naturally not worthy of his attention. The 3 of them continued to move forward. Xia Qianqian sent out a message. 4 hours later, under Xia Qianqian's lead, the 3 of them landed on a spirit stream peak. Just as they landed, 3 figures came up to them. There were 2 men and 1 woman. They were Xia Qianqian's fellow disciples. Judging from their auras and attire, one was a weapon cultivator, one a ghost cultivator, and one a spirit cultivator. "Senior Sister." The 3 of them saluted. The 3 of them had obviously gone through a battle not long ago and were all injured. However, for cultivators, their injuries weren't serious and wouldn't affect their strength. Lu Yi couldn't see through their cultivations, so he guessed that they weren't above the 5th Order Cloud River realm. Excluding Xia Qianqian, there were exactly 5 people in the group now. They continued to move forward. Half an hour later, they landed in a valley. There were already 6 figures waiting in the valley. The one in the lead was a young man with a dignified appearance. When he saw Xia Qianqian, he said with some dissatisfaction, "Fellow cultivator Xia, you're a bit late. Stop talking nonsense. It's not time yet." Xia Qianqian retorted bluntly. Looking at the situation, it was obvious that the 2 of them knew each other and had some grudges. Looking around, Xia Qianqian made sure that there weren't any ambushes or traps. Then she asked, "How should we fight? Should we take turns or fight in a melee?" The young man smiled faintly. "Fellow cultivator Xia, you seem to be very confident. Whether I'm confident or not, we'll only know after we fight. Stop talking nonsense and tell us."